In March of 2017, Jermel Brown purchased a hair follicle fortifier product from Dr. Sebi Inc., Dr. Sebi's Office LLC, Jenny Villasenor, and other unnamed defendants. On or about March 10, 2017, Jermel Brown used the product as directed, which resulted in a severe reaction causing his scalp to burn, swell up, and double in size. This also impacted his vision. The plaintiff alleges that the defendants negligently and carelessly sold and administered the product without proper warnings or ensuring that it was safe for public use. This negligence led to significant harm, including physical injuries and damage to Jermel Brown's health, strength, and activity. As a result, he suffered injuries to his nervous system and overall well-being, which continues to cause him great mental, emotional, and physical pain. Jermel Brown is seeking compensation for the damages he has sustained, which include past, present, and future medical treatment costs, loss of employment opportunities, and general pain and suffering. He requests the court to determine an appropriate sum for these damages based on proof.
Oh, shit. Look at this shit. You see this shit? Look at my head. It ain't fake. No. So I had purchased this stuff last week sometime. I believe it's on the 7th, and I got it on the 10th, and I applied it to my scalp on the 10th. And I lasted through the 14th, 4 days. So I'm going to show you the results, and yeah. This shit got me fucked up. Look at my motherfucking face. Do you see this bullshit? This motherfucking shit right here. This hair follicle fortifier motherfucking shit. Fortified my eyes motherfucking closed. Fortified my goddamn scalp to look like this shit. You know what I'm saying? I understand that it was at my own risk, but goddamn it, you got 3 ingredients up in this motherfucker. The least you can do is write down some side effects for these motherfuckers so people will know, you know, they might have an allergic reaction to this bullshit. In my case, I do have an allergic reaction to this bullshit. That's why my eyes are like this, and my head looks like this, and I got scabs in my shit. So,
and a lot of people, they don't want to take finasteride. I know what it is. I was the same way when I first was introduced to it. So what are your thoughts on like natural remedies? So like rosemary oil, or I think caffeine oil is another one that's like natural DHT blockers. In my opinion, like nothing is going to be as strong as finasteride. But what's your thoughts on people that's like, I don't want to take finasteride. Is there any other thing I can use?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, when it comes to the use of oils, certainly I think they could have some sort of cosmetic benefit in terms of, you know, keeping the hair moisturized and reducing breakage. That's certainly, I think, an important aspect, especially for people with like afro kind of hair, more kinky or curlier hair types. Definitely, I think oils have their sort of space for that. But when it comes to it being a sort of growth stimulant, I'm a bit averted to going down that route because there's just not that much scientific evidence regarding it. I think the thing that everyone talks about is rosemary oil, right? Rosemary oil being as effective as minoxidil. I think it was 2% minoxidil, which in of itself isn't that effective. And to be honest, with minoxidil, you need to have the necessary sulfur-transferase enzyme to turn minoxidil into minoxidil sulfate. And this is they call it the prodrug that's responsible for actually growing hair itself. So if you don't have enough of that sort of enzyme, that's going to already limit how much you can respond to minoxidil, 5%, right, that people typically use. And this study compared it to like 2% minoxidil. So already it's comparing it to something that's inferior. So the very fact that it, I guess you can say that, using rosemary oil is just as good as using an inferior version of minoxidil, topical minoxidil. That doesn't really make rosemary oil a strong candidate, right? Because it's going up against a weaker concentration of minoxidil. So, but in general, the overall setup of the study was just really poor, really poor, and questionable as well, to the point where it makes you question, okay, does rosemary even stimulate hair follicle growth? And people go into various sort of theories that all, to be honest, to me, don't really add up. If anything, I think in some people it reduces breakage, and if you're reducing breakage, you're having more length, and if you're having more length, you attribute that to it growing more when that's not necessarily the reality. Still, it can have a so I think some oils like argan oil and stuff like that, they do have their sort of benefits in maintaining the hair shaft and the hair cuticle. But also I have to bring a point of caution as well. Some people have allergies towards plants, and you have to be careful. If you have an allergy towards plants, you probably shouldn't be putting on rosemary oil or exactly like all these oils onto your scalp, because you don't know how you can react to it. There was a guy, he's no longer with us. He used the Dr. Sebi hair follicle serum.
Gosh, okay.
And, you know, I remember seeing this video years ago on like World Star or something, and everyone thought it was funny. Like, okay, but looking at it was pretty brutal, because it was this sort of plant extract that he put on his scalp. He had an allergic reaction to. Before that, I think he was only like a Norwood 2 or 3, and it caused like this sort of inflammatory cascade such that his entire scalp kind of expanded and blew up, and then it was replaced with like shiny scar tissue. And I was curious about it, so I went to go, snoop around to see if I could contact him, and that's when I found like various lawsuits that he filed. This thing happened in like, I want to say 2015, 2013. I could be wrong. And he was still filing a lawsuit against Dr. Sebi's company for the injury. He had like a burn from the extract.
Yeah.
And I checked. It was, I think the lawsuit was 2021, 2022. He was still going through it. In it described how he was having like pain still to this day, and just inflammatory issues. The hair on his whole scalp was gone due to the allergic reaction that was elicited by that particular product. And I don't know what happened to him, but I saw that shortly after that, you know, there was some sort of obituary with his name on it, and I read it and I was like, okay, well, and looking at the picture in the obituary, he still had that inflamed scalp that he was dealing with maybe like 3 days after he uploaded the video from like maybe a decade ago. So it's a point of caution to, and I understand the whole natural, you know, like supplement kind of thing, natural like movement that everyone's like turning their eyes to. But people have to be careful, especially when you're using these random plants that you don't even know if humans properly cultivated it. We probably never even had any sort of real interactions with it, right? Plants themselves have their own natural defenses against, you know, people or organisms eating it. So putting it on your scalp, especially if it hasn't been studied, there could be a reality that it, instead of it growing hair, it could be detrimental to hair growth too, right? Because of maybe certain allergic reactions that you or histamine cascades that you may have towards that particular plant, or whatever proteins inside the plant or pollen that's inside the plant. You have to be very cautious. So when I hear people talk about, okay, should I use plant oils? I say no, but if you do, you might want to get an allergy test to see what you are allergic to. And also at the same time, a lot of these oils, you don't know how they're being made. You don't know how clean they are. They could have bacterial growths inside of them. You don't know if they're actually using preservatives that can kill any sort of bacteria. And oil is a rich environment for bacteria to grow in. They love it. They love it a lot, especially on the skin. If you have oily skin, it can cause local microbial life to feed off of that oil, inflame the skin, and you can get something like an acne, or if it's on the scalp, you can get a seborrheic dermatitis. So it's for me, I would avoid it as somebody myself who was allergic to plants. When I was 10 years old, I developed a fruit allergy out of nowhere, and I was allergic to all fruit. I had to get allergy shots, so it was pretty. You know, it was about 10 years worth of allergy shots just to be able to eat fruit again and not have any sort of issues. Even today, when I eat an apple, I get a little bit of tingling on my gums, but still, like, this is something people have to keep in mind. For the past couple of weeks, a specific hair oil, rosemary oil, from the brand Miel appears to be linked to various hair loss complaints. Users have reported problems such as bald spots, increased shedding, and general weakening of hair. Now, there is speculation that these issues may stem from a supposed change in the product's formula following Miel's acquisition by Procter & Gamble. And some suggest that a shift in the concentration of active ingredients or even a change in the ingredient sourcing might be contributing to these adverse reactions. Additionally, it is plausible that the natural composition, particularly the inclusion of rosemary and other plant oils, could be triggering allergic reactions in some users. Now, essential oils are known to act as irritants, especially with prolonged exposure. And I highly doubt that many people are actually getting allergy tests to see if they're actually sensitive to these sorts of plant oils. And it is important to recognize that these sensitivities might not manifest immediately after applying these oils, but can develop over time, leading to symptoms like itching, redness, and ultimately hair loss. The users report on platforms like TikTok, Reddit, even YouTube, that initially when they first started using these oils, they didn't have an issue, but eventually these issues came about over time. And this has caused a lot of backlash to the brand Miel. But again, I think there needs to be an honest conversation here. Maybe those oils, for the people that may be using it, it isn't for you.